The 6th. It is a cold, wet Saturday. Um, if it was, we're getting a lot of ice right now. Sorry, I'm looking out the window. If it was maybe 2 degrees colder, we'd be getting snow. There's significant snowfall happening to the west of us. Um, we are fortunately missing that. I know I have a lot of friends, especially on social media, who always cheer on snow, getting snowfall. And although snow is beautiful, it's fun to go out in briefly, it's dangerous. And it's dangerous for those who make a living on the highway, be it a trooper, a truck driver, anyone who travels. It's dangerous for planes, and it is dangerous for um, the homeless. So I always try to take that in consideration. While I know weather patterns are part of life, part of nature, part of the natural cycle of events, um, I still have concern, as we all do, and as we all should, um, for those who are less fortunate than myself. And I am indeed fortunate. I am in a house that is paid for and has been paid for decades through the hard work and effort of my parents. Um, and I was lucky, along with my brother, to inherit the house. So basically, we take care of utilities and the ever present and ultra high taxes that you've heard me moan and groan about lately. And I'm not anti tax. I should mention that again, that I'm actually very proud of my state and my county and my city, most especially my city, for what they are and what they offer and what it was founded upon. Columbia, where I live, where I've grown up, I consider it my hometown, although I was born in McKeesport, Pennsylvania. Um, and my family is from my dad's family, northern Pennsylvania, way back in the mountains and the hills, um, where I spent some time growing up. I lived with some relatives there for a while. But Columbia is my hometown, and it is a planned city, one of the very first planned cities, and it was founded on principles of integration, interfaith centers, so that all faiths could come together. Um, and it's a very green city, meaning that it is um, trees, gardens are of the highest priority. We have tons of woodland paths, bike paths that connect all the little villages together. Um, we have lower income houses in the same community with the highest income houses. Um, crime rate is extremely low for a town this size, city, I guess we can call it. I always thought of it as a town. Um, it's unique, and I absolutely love it. And the stuff that we get has to be paid for, and it's paid for through taxes. I just wish there weren't so much, most especially on a house that has been paying taxes since 1971. I think my family and this house has paid their dues, because it's not like we're not taxed other ways. So, all right, end of my tax rant. Um, those who are watching probably are really thankful that I went on a tax rant and not a vegan rant. Um, but you know what? The live session isn't over yet, so you never know what you might get. What I really want to talk about is breath work and meditation and yoga. By all rights, I could just say yoga, because yoga is yoga incorporates all of that. That's what yoga is. We could really say that yoga is um, the end result of yoga is meditation. That the progression from the very first limb of yoga, 8 limbs of yoga, to the very end is samadhi, reaching the pure contemplation. We can call it enlightenment, awakening. I prefer the term awakening, and that we never have, or maybe we might never have, a grand awakening accumulating an enlightenment and we're done. But that life itself is a series of awakening. From birth, we awaken to pure essence, pure beingness, pure presence. Everything comes to us. Life just happens. It's magical. And it stays that way for quite some time. I know Anthony DeMello talks about that magic. Anthony DeMello was a East Indian Catholic Jesuit, which some might find surprising. He carried over many of the beliefs of his Vedic yogic tradition that he came from, but for whatever reason he felt called to serve as a Jesuit priest. Mixed feelings in his community because of his yogic viewpoints. Anyway, he tells a story of that childhood innocence and magic, how as kids we used to look up in the sky and see this magical winged creature soaring through the air, playing through the wind. Simply magical to watch. And then some well-meaning adult came by and said, "Oh, it's a sparrow." A little bit of the magic was lost. Maybe a great deal of the magic was lost because it had a label now. It had a name. It was no longer this special flying magical creature. It was a sparrow. We've seen sparrows. However, take away that label, take away that name, and that magic is still present. It is still a magical winged creature soaring through the air. Life is a process of coming in to the world with that innocence and magic, losing that innocence and magic, and then awakening to that presence and magic once more. And that's the path of yoga. We come into the world as yogis, we forget that we're yogis, and if we're fortunate, if we're lucky, we begin to wake up to the fact and the experience that we are yogis once more, and in fact, never lost that. Hold on, guys. I'm sending a message to the great yogi in the sky. Actually, I'm sending a message to Milka McCarty. Sorry for the radio silence. So, let's get back to yoga. Let's get back to the 8 limbs of yoga. I was talking about the finishing aspect of yoga, but in truth, again, it isn't finished. It's a series of awakenings all through life, with getting on the yogic path just being one of them. And it's all a yogic path. We just need to realize that. But the 8 limbs, specifically 8 limbs of yoga, start with personal ethics. They start with the yamas. Yamas are the ethical restraints that we place upon ourselves. One of the many wonderful things about yoga is nothing is asked of us. There's no demands. There are no commandments. We could call the 8 limbs of yoga the 8 suggestions. We can call the 5 yamas, which are, again, those ethical self-restraints, 5 suggestions. If you practice them, you will have a valuable, meaningful life. You will escape the psychological suffering that we all suffer through, we all go through in life. So the yamas, 5 of them, niyamas, there's 5 of them. They are the ethical principles that begin the yogic path. In truth, all of yoga is practiced at once. You don't start with the yamas and work your way through the list, going on to asanas next, physical postures, going on to pranayama. It's an 8-limb path, but all limbs are practiced at once. The first um, yama, and you hear me talk about this to the point of being annoying, maybe more annoying than I normally am, more annoying than when I talk about burpees, more annoying when I talk about veganism or taxes or politics. Um, I talk quite a bit about ahimsa, non-harm, non-harmfulness. Here's the great thing about um, the yamas is that when you practice a restraint, you don't do so to keep yourself from doing harm or from lying or from stealing or from misuse of sexual energy or non-hoarding. Those are the five yamas, by the way. Um, you do so that the opposite grows in proportion in your life. So even if you practice a little bit of ahimsa, it grows proportionally larger, the non-harm, the peacefulness that occurs within your life. When you practice truthfulness, magic really starts to happen because that means the things that you think and you say are true. So it must be so. Your word is more than your bond, it's more than gold. Your word is a magical incantation for potentiality and possibilities. Non-stealing, the same. How could you steal from others when everything simply belongs to you, when everything arrives to you, when you're content, which, by the way, is one of the niyamas that we're coming up to. You're content with everything you have because look at what you have. If I hold my hands up, which you can't see when I go like this, but when I go like this, when I hold my hands up, what am I containing? Everything, the entire universe, sitting in the palms of my hand. What more could I need? Um, Sexual energy, brahmacharya, which a lot of people get upset about. Who wants to be celibate? Except what they're asking you is to be mindful of your sexual energy. Not necessarily curtailing it, but being mindful. Not being wasteful either. Why are you engaging in sexual activity? Stress? To prove something? Conquest? Um, who knows? All those aren't good reasons because it wastes your energy. If you do so out of intimacy and connection and love, that's a different story, different matter. And I'm not just talking about sex with another. Let that sink in. And again, yoga doesn't say anything is bad. What they're saying is if you want to live a life of purity and ease and awakening, free from psychological suffering, here's the path. Try it. See if it works. If it doesn't work, go back by all means. Non-greed, non-hoarding. How can we be greedy? How can we hoard when we were giving everything so freely? Can you hoard air? It's impossible. Why would you? And yet, it's abundant to our lips, to our nose, every breath. We are giving the essence of the universe freely in order to live. The niyamas are more stated in the positive than the yamas. They are personal observances. Cleanliness, contentment, discipline. Everyone loves discipline, sort of. Everyone I talk to in the burpee community loves the tapas, which are the discipline. Having a burning desire to do something bigger than ourselves. And there's a reason for that, because we're special. Because for whatever reason, we're drawn towards the difficult. Realizing that, we can make our burpee practice, our calisthenics practice, our weightlifting part of our spiritual practice, our sadhana, our practice. Self-study is the next one. Reading from the spiritual classics, the Bible, the Zohar, the Talmud, the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Dhammapada of Buddhism, the Christian mystics, all of them. Native American lore, all of it contains wisdom. But self-study also means introspection, self-inquiry, asking ourselves, who am I? And not settling on the standard answer of I am this or I am that. I am an object, I'm a position, I'm a title, I'm a role. None of those are you. Keep asking. When you find out, leave a comment, let me know. And then last is surrender to a higher power, which almost sounds straight out of the 12 steps. And it actually, there is a connection there. Bill W., in his own way, founder of AA, was a yogi in his own unique fashion. And then those are the two limbs, starting off on the yogic path, asanas, the postures, pranayama, which I love talking about, breathing, breath work, pratyahara, which is withdrawal of the senses, and don't quote me on anything Sanskrit. I'm going to say it wrong, by the way. Withdrawing of the senses, first stage of meditation. It's simply turning inwards. All of our senses point this way, and they bring us information this way. Take that information, turn it within, observe. And then concentration, becoming one-pointed, then being absorbed in that one-pointedness, and then we reached samadhi, bliss, enlightenment, joy, continuous awakening. That's the yogic path, 8 limbs. They are more seamless than they sound. When you practice the very first limb, yamas, your mind starts to become settled, and then even more so, because you have less to worry about. You're not lying, you're not stealing, you're not hoarding. And it leads towards greater ease in our meditation and asana practice. When we commit ourselves to breath work, we become calmer, healthier, more psychological sound. When we are sinking into the breath, we end up, when we're sinking into the breath, we end up going into that one-pointedness. We end up absorbed in our meditation. We end up reaching that state of samadhi, even without sitting in regular meditation. I honestly think, and this is the main point of the conversation that I want to have, is that you say everyone has times for the yamas and the niyamas. Everyone has time for cleanliness. Everyone has time to not tell a lie. Everyone has time to not harm. So these are the things that we can do, and nobody even has to know that we're doing them. And we could start right now with a commitment, and you're going to fail. It's amazing how much we lie to ourselves, or little white lies that we say don't hurt anyone, or taking a pencil from work or the bank, a pen from the bank or whatever. Little things like that. But we can start practicing now. And every time we fail or we seem to fail, we just start over again. Simple. So those first two, yamas and niyamas, we could start right away. But the fourth one, the fourth one, pranayama, breath work. That contains the essence of yoga, because you're working with pure energy. You're working with the energy that sustains the universe itself. You're working with prana. Everything is manifested through prana. Nothing comes to be without energy. So it makes sense. Cultivate prana. Cultivate breath. Using breath work. And your life will change drastically and almost instantly for the better. When you practice breath work, your physiology changes instantly. Your emotional and energetic system changes instantly. You can measure it. I can take my heart rate. It's usually in the morning in the mid to low, in the high to mid 40s. This morning I think it was 49, bordering at 48, and occasionally in the morning it gets as low as 43. After doing some breath work, I can take it from, let's say, in a stressful situation where I might take my pulse and it might be in the low 50s. I can sit and through an extended period, and by extended, I'm only meaning a minute to 3 minutes, bring my heart rate back down to the low 40s or the mid 40s. Our friend Destiny is here. Happy Saturday, Eric. I am here listening. How are you? I'm doing well. I'm talking about yoga and mostly pranayama, although I do want to touch more on meditation as well. But the thing with breath work is you get all of the benefits of meditation. So a lot of people who say, I don't have time to commit to a meditation practice, I can't sit for 20 minutes twice a day, we all can. The busiest people in the world leaders, sit in meditation. If they can, we can. Head of corporations sit in meditation. However, I do understand that some people feel they don't have time, which is fine. But everyone can take 3 minutes 3 times a day and do some breath work, especially knowing how much more efficient they're going to be at their job, in their lives, in their creativity, across the board by engaging in that practice. The way I was taught to teach, and I talked about it in my workout video, 3 times a day. We have a morning practice to help wake us up. We have an afternoon practice to keep us even-keeled, meaning we can use it to get a little extra energy if we need it, or to calm us down if it's been a stressful day. And then we have an evening practice as part of our sleep hygiene to help us prepare for bed. And then therapeutically as needed, meaning if you've been stuck in a traffic jam and you're stressed out and you don't like the way you've been reacting instead of being responsive, if you are in an argument with your spouse and you feel you need to calm down because you are insisting on your point of view and you're not listening, and you know the direction where this is going and that you need to give yourself a timeout to be calm and cool and loving and caring and compassionate to your spouse. These are all therapeutic reasons to use the breath, to bring you back to 0 point. 0 point is where we are responsive versus being reactive. And we can all come back to that. That's where we all start. We don't wake up in the morning not with that first blink, full of hate, full of grievances, full of the injustices of the world, full of whatever. We wake up empty. And it's only when those thoughts start coming to us, oh yeah, today's Monday, I got to deal with this jerk. Today's Tuesday, I got this meeting with whatever. Then, we wake up and remember, oh yeah, I'm angry with my spouse. But when our eyes first open, nothing. 0 point. And then we start to remember. We get the oh yeahs. Oh yeah, this, and this. Breath brings us back to 0 point every time. Destiny says meditation is so important, and people use excuses a lot that they don't have time to be still. The Bible says, be still and know that I am God. One of my favorite Psalms, by the way. We must be still or sit in meditation. The saying in meditation is, if you don't have time to sit for 20 minutes in meditation, then you need to sit for half an hour in meditation. If you don't have time to sit for half an hour in meditation, you need to sit for an hour in meditation. Meaning your life is so much more efficient when you meditate. Things run better and smoother. You think better. You're calmer. You're more peaceful. Again, you're more responsive. You're more creative. Life is easier when you meditate. So The people who say I don't have time, those are the ones who need to do it all the more. Meditation expands time. You do more. Someone might say it's easy for you to say. You wake up at 3 o'clock every morning, and granted, I have somewhat of an easier life now, but that's the case now. When I was a critical caregiver for my father, I didn't have quite that time. That's when I committed myself to getting up at 3 in the morning, before my father would wake up, unless it was an emergency, and I would be a more careful and a more compassionate, a more empathetic, loving caregiver because of the time that I gave myself to cultivate those very habits that I needed the most. Destiny says, exactly, Eric, just take the intervals. And that's the great thing, again, with breath work, is if you truly, truly feel that you don't have time to meditate, commit to the breath work, and you get the benefits of meditation with just a fraction of the time. You get the physiological, I think I really mangled that word, aspects, as well as the calm aspects of meditation, just by using your breath, just for 3 minutes, 5 minutes tops. And it lasts for a long time. And if it doesn't, you can always do it again. Guess what? You're always taking a breath. You're always using prana. You're always cultivating prana. The difference is you're not doing it mindfully, and you're wasting it. You're wasting it by breathing through the mouth. You're wasting it by breathing with the chest exclusively and not breathing from the diaphragm. You're wasting it by not realizing that you are drawing in the energy of the spheres, that you are breathing in particles, atoms, molecules that have existed since the beginning of the universe itself, and that you're giving back. You are feeding the trees. You're feeding the greenery of life with your breath, as well as drawing what the trees are giving us. We're part of the photosynthesis. We are a part of participants, more than a part. We are deep, deep participants in the very fabric of existence itself, of life itself. So why wouldn't it pay to learn how to cultivate that just a little bit, learn how to be mindful of it? And it's so simple. Happy to teach anyone who wants to do a little bit. And again, it doesn't take much. We do a breath upon waking. We do an afternoon breath. We do an evening breath to help us sleep. And then again, therapeutically, whenever we need it. There is a breath for every occasion. And what you might find is that you like it so much that you want to commit to a meditation practice. And then you might find that if you did a few asanas, a few postures, you might be loose and limber enough to sit for a longer period in meditation. And then you might find that you want to explore the ethical principles that yoga is based upon. Yoga without the ethical principles isn't yoga. It's exercise. Exercise is great. Stretching is great. But it's not the point of yoga. Destiny asks, is breath work one of your basic teachings? Yes. I'm a certified breath coach. As a matter of fact, I am days away from adding to my certification with an extensive pranayama course. My first certification was through Yoga Body, and they take away a lot of the mystical aspects of breath work. And the founder, Lucas, great yogi, puts it in very scientific principles. His methods are coffee breathing, water breathing, whiskey breathing. And those are just descriptions. Coffee meaning energy, so we do it in the morning. Water being neutral, We do it in the afternoon as it'll help lift us up or bring us down, whatever the case may be. And whiskey being a relaxation, which really in real life whiskey isn't, but it's a good word for people to remember. Whiskey is that evening calming practice. So he has a real genius for um, breaking it down that way and taking out the esoteric principles. Personally, I love the esoteric stuff, but in order to teach it for regular people in their lives and use it every day, this was a genius approach. So I'm a certified breath coach with Yoga Body, as well as adding to it with the certified yogic pranayama. And I am a certified primordial sound meditation teacher, which I'm most proud of all because I've been practicing primordial sound meditation for 30 years. It is the practice that led me from drunkenness to a life of sobriety and joy and ease. Um, it has filled me with creativity and inspiration every single day of my life. It allowed me and opened me to being a caring and empathetic caregiver for both my parents, with my mom through her Alzheimer's, my father through his last days with congestive heart failure, um, and that through the stress of all that, I could turn within and meditate and offer my father the best of me, even when my heart was breaking, and do so with as much love as there ever is in the entire universe. I was filled with it and able to give it to my father, even though I was afraid. Being a critical care and making those life and death decisions, I thought was beyond me. And literally it was, until the moment when I had to do it. When the doctor said, you have to make this decision. And I wasn't even I'm the youngest in the family. This stuff isn't supposed to fall on me. Um, my sister was the executor of the will, but nobody else. My father, for whatever reason, I was the person that did this. I was the person that woke up um, and was there. And I would not have traded a single moment of that for anything in the world. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up just thinking about it. It's been 2 years, and every day, um, the presence of that care between both my father and myself. Some of his last words to me, I heard him in his hospital bed the very night he came home to be in hospice care. And he was very agitated and moving around. And I came downstairs, and this is our last conversation. He said, why are you up? I didn't wake you, did I? Full of concern. Within half an hour, he had passed away, and I was with him. I view all of that and being able to recognize it as a gift, as the true and ultimate gift of meditation. Without meditation, I would have gone through the motion. And I'm so glad, 1,000% glad that I did not go through the motions with my father or my mother, that I was present and caring and full of love for both of them, even as my heart was breaking for both of them and for myself and my loss. Same with my divorce. I was able to, not saying I handled everything with grace, but I've been divorced for 10 years. And I spend every day of my life pretty much with my ex-wife. And I have just as much of a meaningful relationship with her and she with me as the day we got married, as the day we first met. Meditation is the key that allowed me to do that, to move on from the hurt ex-husband to the, okay, we still love each other. How do we handle this? I am thankful every day. Every time I sit in meditation, it's a gift that the universe itself is giving me. And I get to open up and receive that gift. and then I get to give it back to everyone. Yoga is meditation. Without meditation, you're not doing yoga. Again, you're just exercising, or you're just breathing, or you're just stretching, or whatever. So, anyway, off on a little tangent there. Destiny says, good job. You're a great teacher. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. I am glad too. I don't know how much knowledge and wisdom I actually have, to be honest with you. I like to put out what I learn as I'm learning it. I am not a great yogi. I am a practitioner and I've been fortunate through what I've done in life and to have these awakenings and to live an inspired life. Doesn't mean I don't have issues and don't have problems. I think anyone who can watch any of my videos will say, that guy's got some issues and that guy's got some problems. You know what? We're supposed to, because it's life. Sometimes life is messy. However, yoga gives you the gift of navigation. You get to navigate through the mess with comfort and ease. You don't get stuck in the muck of it all. Doesn't mean there isn't muck, but you don't get stuck in it. You know it's life, and life is always changing. That's the noble truth of Buddha. Life is suffering, which a lot of people never get past that. And they think, well, why would I want to be a Buddhist? Life is suffering. But you can't look around and say life isn't suffering. From people starving, political violence, warfare, that stuff, not to mention our own psychological suffering. But the good news is the Buddha says life is suffering because it's impermanent. Everything. And we suffer because we cling to the impermanence. We want something to stay when it's impossible to stay. And so we suffer. And then he says, I will teach you how not to suffer. Yoga takes it a little bit farther, in my opinion, a little more in depth, although others might argue the opposite. Yoga tells you that we suffer because of our aversions, things that we don't like, we're always pushing away. Because of our the things that we hoard, that we grasp, the things that we're attracted to, but we never get enough of. And because we don't know who we truly are, because of our fear of death, and above all, because of avidya, which means ignorance, that we are ignorant of all this, that we are pulled and pushed by our wants and our desires. And yoga would say that it's fine to have wants and desires. It's fine to have needs and goals, to strive for things, but don't be attached to them. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Prince Arjuna, that you are entitled to your actions, but not the fruits of your actions. Meaning, strive all you want, but know that when you get something, one, as President Obama said, you didn't get that by yourself. The entire universe conspired to help you achieve what you achieved. If you start a small business, and this was Obama's point, if you start a small business, you might have gotten a loan for that. You're dependent upon truck drivers to bring goods to your store. You're dependent upon the people who work on roads to keep things open for customers to arrive. You're interdependent with every single aspect of life to make you successful. So what he was pointing out is, appreciate the fact we live in an interdependent world, entwined, entangled. So, having said all that, I completely lost track of what I was saying, except for the fact yoga's a path. We work the entire path at once, all 8 limbs. Same with Buddhism. 8-fold path of Buddhism, 8 limbs of yoga. Very closely connected. Buddha was a great yogi. He was a Hindu prince who left his kingdom because for the very first time, he lived a very sheltered life. When he was born, a wise holy man said, your son will either be a great Buddha, the awakened one, or he'll take over the kingdom, being a prince. Of course, his father wanted him to be king one day when he passed away. He wanted his kingdom to go to his son. So he said, shield him, keep him from seeing the suffering of life, because if he sees suffering, if he sees how life is for most people, his heart will break and he'll want to help him and he'll become a Buddha. And I want him to be king. So his entire life, he was shielded from the realities of life until one day when he was approaching 30 and he saw a beggar and he saw someone dying and he saw someone suffering. And he realized that he needed to serve. And he went out, left his kingdom, denounced his princehood, and became a wandering yogi. Practiced and practiced and practiced. And then one day he realized his practice, he needed to surrender. And he sat under the Bodhi tree. And he said, I'm going to sit under this tree and meditate until I awaken. And he did. And when he awakened, he saw that life was suffering. And he saw the reasons why life was suffering. And he saw the solution for that suffering. And for the rest of his life, that's what he taught. So, guys, we're going to call it a day. I'm coming up in 45 minutes. I really thought this was going to be like a 15-minute session. But I guess I had more to say than I thought I did. I'm glad I did. For some reason, this felt, and you know what? I'm going to thank Destiny. That it felt very cathartic, opening up, and things just came out. So, thank you, Destiny. And I appreciate anyone who stops by and has an opportunity to watch this. And again, I'm happy to help meditation or breath work, or even putting together a little asana, yogic practice. Whatever you guys need, reach out, let me know. Thank you, and thank you again, Destiny. She is saying enjoy your day and weekend, and you too, my friend. Take care.